Hey guys, here we go into a film study on Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence, and what's going to be a great fight. I think no matter how you slice it, this is going to be a good fight to watch. And yeah, anyway, what we're going to talk about today is what makes a good fighter, and how Mikey kind of exemplifies these characteristics. And we're going to talk about some of his skills and the way that he utilizes his lead hand to set everything that he does up. And we're going to talk about what he sets up, and then we're going to bring in Errol Spence after. But so here we go. Starts feinting, right? Look at 255 of round one, feinting his opponent already, stepping in, making him think, right? Giving him something to think about. And look at how his opponent is stepping forward, right? Giving him funny looks. And so Mikey Garcia starts using his lead hand, controlling him. And notice that these are not all jabs that are supposed to land. Look at how he just touches his glove there. Touches his glove, right? Doesn't even make contact there. But it's just to keep his opponent's glove pinned to his head, right? Now this is how you control the space between you and your opponent. If your opponent has to work to get around that hand, the likelihood that they're going to throw punches that they are not setting up increases 100-fold. It's just incredible the lengths that people go around to time this type of action. Now, while Mikey Garcia is not committing to this shot, he's simply using it to control the space so that he can start setting shots up later, but getting his opponent to work around it. And in this case, we have Zlaticanin working around it with the lead hand of his own, trying to catch him with the right hook, you know. And that is one of the problems with this style for Mikey Garcia, is that he does kind of become predictable sometimes. But moving on. Anyway, you just watch the first 30 seconds of the fight, and he's constantly feinting his opponent, touching his gloves and controlling his opponent's lead hand so that when he does throw punches, his opponent doesn't set them up and he walks into counters, right? And it makes it easy to see the punches coming. If your opponent's not feinting you when he throws his punches, then he's not going to be effective. Again, no effectiveness there from Zlaticanin. He's trying to work around that lead hand, which Mikey Garcia isn't even committing to, and he's able to set up his own counters. Now, the other things that Mikey Garcia looks to do is time his opponents. Now, if you notice Zlaticanin, every time he steps forward, right on that front foot, step forward, step forward, step forward, right? And Zlaticanin is aware of that too, step forward. He tries to time it. So here we're going to watch Zlaticanin step forward onto his right leg, step forward, Mikey touches him with the glove, and then as he steps forward again, Mikey looks to time that motion, boom, with a great 1-2. And that's what Mikey likes to do, is timing you when you're out of position, because a lot of fighters are out of position as they walk, as they spread their feet, they don't keep their feet together, or they don't take sharp steps. And it works really well against this kind of plodding style. And he also uses it to set up the left hook, as you can see here. But he also does it to set up his defense as well. See how he controls Zlaticanin, and then Zlaticanin has no opportunity to throw punches. He's on that same timing, blocking the shot, controlling him, and then Zlaticanin again, because he's being controlled, he can't see around that hand. He doesn't know what Mikey Garcia is doing. He only thinks about this exposure from Mikey Garcia, this probing, as I call it, as a defect. You know, oh, this is not my opportunity to hit him. A lot of boxing coaches will tell you, don't ever leave your hand out there because you'll get countered over the top. But as you can see here, because of the fact that Mikey has used this technique before, he uses it in the gym, he knows when he's exposed, he knows what he's supposed to be looking forward or looking out for, and he has a timing on Zlaticanin. He knows when Zlaticanin is going to throw his punches, so he can easily just set up his defenses and work around that, because he's experienced. That's what you call real boxing craft, is when you understand where the holes in your game are and you have game plans for when your opponents figure out those holes as well. That's called craft. Again, setting up his offense, or setting up with the control, setting up more defense, right? Feinting, he gets his opponent to bring his glove up, and then he throws that hook, and then uses the momentum to move out the side as he controls his opponent on the way out. The second little glove touch right here, boom, to control that lead hand to make sure no more counters come. Now, he does all kinds of things off of this in this clip. He's going to throw this body shot right here off the same timing. Then he comes forward, shoots another 1-2 off the same timing. Just watch Zlaticanin's foot as he steps forward, hook to the body. He steps forward, right hand to the head. He steps forward, another right hand to the head. He steps forward, and Mikey Garcia starts controlling him with the lead hand again, touching him, see if he can get him out of position, and then boom. Because he becomes predictable in this sequence, he winds up eating a great left hand from Zlaticanin. And that's one of the problems from fighting on the timing. As we already noted, Zlaticanin was trying to time it with the right hook, but Mikey Garcia has seen that tactic used against him before, but he hasn't seen as much of the straight left hand coming. And as you see, Mikey gets clipped with this shot very cleanly. Now, the other things that Mikey Garcia does off of this timing and this control is try to bait you into into committing to your shots in the same way that you were before, or taking lead foot dominance. Now, watch as Zlaticanin goes forward, right? As Zlaticanin is going forward, Mikey Garcia is waiting for him to take lead foot dominance and throw a left hand. As you see, Mikey Garcia is circling out to the right. What he's doing is, see here, he's waiting. He's trying to bait Zlaticanin into throwing a punch so he can shoot off to the side and land his knockout shot that we're going to see in the next clip. As you can see, it winds up being really great craft, but it's exactly the same thing that you see in the knockout in this shot. He's circling, he's controlling him with the lead hand, and then as soon as Zlaticanin commits to that shot, he takes the shot to the left, to the right, and then comes in with the uppercut. Just watch it again as he, again, baiting that. He's pulling and he's looking and waiting for his opponent, again, so he can time him and land that right uppercut. Now, the reason this is so fascinating is because the rest of the fight he spends going to the left, right? So what he's trying to do is he's trying to bait you into taking lead foot dominance. So later on in the fight, after you've committed to it and he can start timing you, after he's seen a couple of straight left hands come, he can do exactly what he does in this scene and wait for that, parry that shot as he takes the shot out to the side and catch him with the uppercut. But it's fascinating, it's great craft, it's a great strategy, and a great game plan. I liken it very similarly to how Virgil Hunter makes his fighters duck under the jab and then body up with his opponent to control them and then quote-unquote, fight on the inside. The wrestling and stuff that's not as fun to watch, but it's a game plan. It's something that you want to enact. It's something that you do. All of the things that you do culminate into this so that you can create an advantage by keeping them fighting where you want them. And Mikey Garcia appears to have done that with his fighting of the southpaw stance. Now, step in Errol Spence. Or actually, now sometimes, what happens when the control goes wrong? Now Mikey Garcia here is doing a great job of controlling Zlaticanin, but notice how he gets caught on the ropes and eats that body shot. And then when Zlaticanin continues to press forward and control him here, look at how his right hand is pinned to his side, but he's not closing the space between him and Zlaticanin. This is going to be very, very, very important in the fight with Errol Spence, as Errol Spence is mean body puncher. He punches with the left hand to the body all the time. And he actually uses this exact same technique to control his opponent on his collarbone and then throw those left hands to the body, which Zlaticanin does not do right here. He throws one to the head. But notice how Mikey Garcia, when he's not circling out to the side, as he gets caught here by Zlaticanin, he's not covering up, he's not closing the gap between his right hand and his opponent's left hand. And as long as space there remains, Errol Spence is going to be able to do some great body work. Now enters Errol Spence. And what we want to focus on at first is whether or not we think Mikey Garcia's control, his feinting, his lead hand control, and his glove touching, right? The control, the probing is going to be effective. And I think it's much less effective to call it, or much less appropriate to call it probing than just control, because Mikey Garcia doesn't always have the answer. He doesn't always know what to do with the control that he has. As we see in this clip, as his opponent is coming forward, he stops being baited out of position. He stops committing to the right hook because he knows it wasn't working. So he just presses on and starts feinting him, shifting, giving him different looks, allowing that glove to touch him whenever he wants, and getting kind of a free body shot. And that's why I say that Mikey Garcia hasn't mastered the control, but he's on his way. Maybe he'll surprise us in his fight with Errol Spence, but I doubt it. But I seriously doubt it. Now, getting into Errol Spence, what Mikey Garcia wants to do is start attacking him on that lead leg, right? So what we're going to watch are overcommits of weight transfers from Errol Spence as he attacks and he fights off of his front foot. As you see, when he goes to step on his front foot here, Kell Brook is looking to do the same thing. right? He's going to lean, and as soon as he starts leaning on his front foot, Kell Brook feints him, going in, and then Errol Spence is able to throw punches off of that same timing, right? Breaking his own rhythm, not overcommitting his weight, understanding that Kell Brook is going to look to control that lead glove, and getting away from the counters. And this is very bad news for Mikey Garcia, that Errol Spence, not only does Errol Spence, he's not fighting on that timing, he's not overcommitting, he's taking small steps, he's not plodding forward, he's taking tiny steps, which are one of the things that I like about Stevenson, who just got knocked out by Vostok. Stevenson does that, those really old school kind of style fighters where they know every second that you're in the ring is an opportunity to get hit or hit someone else, and they're constantly, looking for stuff and angles. And look at these tiny steps. There's no overcommitment on the front. Look at how his weight is behind his front leg. It's not on the front leg like Zlaticanin was, and he's not walking in or plodding. So I don't think that glove touching is going to be very effective for him, but also I don't think the counters are going to be either, because look at how easily he's able to bait the counters from Kell Brook. But again, look at the active guard. Now, there are a few things that I want to point out at the beginning, right? But not a terribly active guard, as you notice. A little bit of feints, a little bit of head, not head movement, but a little bit of probing, but just a little bit, but no head movement. And that's one of the problems and one of the more interesting things about this fight. Now, going back to this clip with Mikey Garcia, where he knocks him out, he had been baiting his opponent to take lead foot dominance the whole fight. And this is what he wants you to do, is take lead foot dominance, put yourself out of position, and then move off the line so he can set up that uppercut, right? Traps, setting traps off of all those things, off of all of that craft that he's built. Now, if you notice in this clip with Errol Spence, he's feinting. He starts shooting the jab, and he notices that Brook is going to commit to his counter jabs, right? The timings. So in the next clip, after the active guard, we have Errol Spence shooting the jab and expecting the counter to come from Brook. But what he does instead is he goes for a body shot because he knows the jab counter is coming. And what does he do immediately after landing the body shot, which is going to be very effective against Mikey because Mikey doesn't close that gap? He immediately wraps his right glove around Kell Brook to hold him there and start bashing on him, exactly like Zlaticanin tried to do against Mikey Garcia as well. And I think this is going to be very, very effective, especially if Mikey Garcia is going to be lunging in with his jab very similarly to the way Kell Brook does. As you see, he leans in on it, and Mikey Garcia, when he's throwing his jab as well, he leans in on his jab as well. Let's see if we can get those clips. But as you see here, steps forward and he commits to that jab, right? He even commits to these probing shots right here. Let's go back to the beginning of the round. But as he commits with these probing jabs and he leans forward, and as you see, it's on his own rocking timing too, right? Back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. And he's committing to these jabs. Even though he's not getting his weight and he's not trying to land the shots, he's still putting in his weight. It still makes him easy to time. And that's going to be a big problem for him when he fights Spence, if Spence is going to be able to get his hand around Mikey Garcia and hold him there and really land some big shots, because Mikey Garcia is nowhere near as big as he needs to be fighting Errol Spence. And again, later on in the round, Errol Spence having very similar success, catching him on the outside. And this is going to be a huge problem right here for Mikey Garcia, is Mikey Garcia is not sharp on the outside. He's not sharp on the outside. He's very wide, as we see here with Zlaticanin. Even when he's on his game for his defense, let's see, right here, right? Look at how his hands are down. He's not protecting his face at all. There's a scene that I believe Chris Algieri does the same thing right here and then walks into a right hook. It just comes flying out and drops him, in fact. But also here, after he throws that hook, right, his right glove comes up, or his right glove comes up, but his left glove is down. And I think that's going to be a big problem for Mikey Garcia. I think people get into, like, quote-unquote chess matches with Mikey Garcia more often than they should, and that favors him because he has such a great 1-2. But he doesn't have to. He's never fought anyone who fights like this. Maybe Salido fought like that, and that's why people are saying that Mikey quit in that fight. But this is going to be a very tough fight for Mikey Garcia. As we can already tell, I did a previous video on the timing, and Errol Spence has fought against that timing before, and it's very apparent in here when he's fighting Kell Brook, when he's leaning forward, and he knows not to put all his weight on his front foot because the counters are coming, because Kell Brook is waiting for them. He's waiting to time that movement. So he's got these small motions figured out how to move around the ring without putting himself out of position. The next one. Oh, and the next problem for Mikey Garcia, the straight left hand. As you can see, even though he's controlling his opponent, even though he's feinting, he gets Zlaticanin to go first and to commit with the straight left hand to the body. Mikey Garcia doesn't understand what to do with that control. He doesn't understand all of the facets of what's going on, that his opponent is not setting his punches up, and he winds up just eating free punches to the body, eating free straight left hands to the body again, as well as eating ones to the head. That one's not great. Oh, if you look at that also, that's him trying to do that same counter, get his opponent to commit, right, and then go with the uppercut. He does it in the second round too. I thought I had that clip shown a little sooner, but again, Mikey Garcia unable to get away from the straight left hand, because also, not only does he not know how to utilize the full control with the lead hand and understand when his opponent is about to commit to something or what to do in those situations, but he doesn't ever move his head. If you notice in Mikey Garcia's fights, his head is always in the same spot. And as you see, when he kind of freaks out when the punch is coming, not freaks out, but as he reacts, he's not even moving his head at all. The body shot gets him for free. He doesn't move his head here. Even when his opponent's still going to the body, he's still trying to set up that uppercut, that slip out. And as you see, Errol Spence has a great body shot as well. I don't have very many clips of him just throwing random body shots or lead left hands, but I think it's going to be very effective. And again, Kell Brook, again, using a little bit of his own control of the lead hand here. If he can do this against Mikey Garcia, which he doesn't always do. He did it a lot more in the Spence fight, or not the Spence fight, the Peterson fight, but I expect it to be a lot more like the Brook fight than the Peterson fight, but we'll see how much control he utilizes, because I'm not sure if Mikey Garcia is going to actually be pressuring Errol Spence. I think that was, I think that's crap. I don't think he's really going to do that. But if he does wind in fact doing that, Errol Spence has a pretty decent control game, good feinting here, and here he's able to feint his opponent, get him to slip outside, use the head movement, and land a great body shot again. It doesn't even matter if Mikey Garcia doesn't move his head, but he doesn't know how to defend against the straight left. He looks to counter the jab of you, and it doesn't look like he knows how to counter the straight left hand unless he's got a good timing for it. And as we saw in these clips, whereas Zlaticanin is just kind of walking him down until he gets the timing, right? And as you see, he's trying to get it. He's trying to bait that shot. As you see, he takes that small step to his right. He's trying to bait that shot, but he still doesn't have the timing. Until he gets the timing, he's going to be eating a lot of leather from Errol Spence. As you can see, he's trying the same exact shot here, pull to the side, and then come with the uppercut. But I really don't think this is going to be effective against him at all. I think that Errol Spence is just too good on his feet. He has, too good a foot movement, as you see, again, eating lots of shots. But then there's also the caveat that Errol Spence doesn't move his head either. As you notice, when he's feinting, like in this clip right here, he's feinting, he's probing his opponent, right? But his head is staying on the line. Notice his head doesn't move from one side to the line or the other side of the line. It's just right on the line. Even when he's getting feinted, he just pulls straight back, right? Not a lot going on. He does move his head sometimes when he punches, right? Remember when he was baiting the counters, he'll move his head then. You can tell also that he's not super great at it just by how out of position he gets when he throws the shot. But look at how far he has to duck, right, to get under the shot. It just doesn't look super pretty, right? So you can tell it's not practice as much as, his other boxing, his other punching, he's a technique machine, with his power punching and everything. But anyway, that's going to be one of the big problems for Errol Spence, is that he doesn't move his head. As you see here, when he gets attacked, that straight left hand or straight right hand is coming, and he doesn't move his head. I don't think he gets hit. I think he blocks the shot there, but as you can see, he just moves straight back, and his head stays on the line. As you see again, his head stays on the line. And Mikey Garcia is very good at finding your head once he knows where it's going. He's very good at feinting with that jab and walking you into a shot. He's very good with it. Anyway, my prediction for this fight is it might wind up being kind of a chess match for the first round or the first 2 rounds, as Errol Spence looks to test himself against Mikey Garcia and give Mikey Garcia a fair shot. I want to say a fair shot because if he can kind of outbox him, and let him prove that, oh, you've got the skills to beat me, right? That might be enough for Mikey Garcia, and that might be enough for Errol Spence to say, hey, good job, but then start turning it up in the 3rd round. Even though he starts in the 1st round against Kell Brook, getting really physical with him right away, landing big shots. I think this is going to be much too much for Mikey Garcia. I don't think he fights that way. He doesn't have people in his camp that train that way. And if you listen to the way that Errol Spence talks about certain fighters, like when he talks about Tank Davis, Tank Davis, he's a limited fighter. He's getting better. I love the fact that he's getting better. He's learning. Maybe he could do with like some new coaches or like less turmoil in his camps. But he used to be really scared and timid when he used to fight. But at the Mayweather gym, they don't play around. They don't mess around at all. And you can see it from, I think, his 6th fight to his 9th fight. I did a film study on my channel, actually, Evolution of a Fighter. You can see the difference in how much he's learning, but how much he's growing as a fighter and how gritty he got, really quickly. I want to say the same thing for Shakur Stevenson. Stevenson looked kind of timid in his first couple fights. He was fighting on all skill. He was like, oh, we're just going to be combatants and this. And now in his fights, he's fucking mean, man. When the round ends, he's like still staring, mean mugging at you. Like, yeah, I just beat your ass. I'm going to beat, you got 1 more minute, man. I'm going to beat your ass again. And, that's due to training with Crawford, They're just tougher because they get that work in, and I don't think Mikey Garcia gets that work. I think that he's a nice guy. I know he can fight. I know he hits hard, but I just don't think that he has this. I don't think he has the. I don't want to say the toughness, the grittiness to really even compete with Errol Spence on the most basic level. I think that especially once he realizes that he's in the ring with a big, strong guy that should be fighting at middleweight, it's going to be a lot for Mikey Garcia, and he might quit. I think he actually might quit, especially if he sees that he's not. I don't even think he'll have to quit. I think Robert will do the sensible thing and throw the towel in. But that's my prediction for the fight, you guys. I am going to be doing more videos on this fight, though. I'm actually going to be off work next week, and I'm going to have a lot of free time, so I'm going to be trying to do videos maybe every day of this fight. There's a lot of really interesting things, but that's my most basic analysis of it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, guys.